Right.
Yeah.
We can just cut it.
How do you want? What do you? Today we're talking about native son. Hello. Fuck. I'm stuck. I'm stuck.
Eminem over here. No. Lock in. No.
Lock voice. Pouring.
Oh, fuck. Okay. We're in. No. Okay. Fine. Okay, we're in.
It's just recording a conversation, right?
Yeah.
So.
And this will just say hi. I'm Richard. Hi, you're Aaron.
Today we're talking about native son.
And our question is da 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 da. And then
Perfect.
start. Alright.
Do you want to do it? So the way that I did it is I did like question by question.
Yeah,
Do you want to split it up like that?
Yeah.
Or do you want to say the whole thing, and then
Yeah, I think I
say
know
the
what you're
whole
thinking.
thing, and then
say
say.
the small one.
So let's focus on.
Yeah.
As bigger. Okay. Do you want to start?
Sure.
And then okay, no. Yeah. You start. You introduce. You say the question, the whole question,
Yeah.
and then I'll say. Let's start. Let's start with. Wait. Okay. No.
The first question. Yeah.
Because I want you to answer first.
And then you
and
take
then
the small
so I'll
question.
say, okay. Let's start with has Bigger changed? Do you think Bigger's changed at all by the end of the book? Great.
Yeah. All right. 3, 2, 1. Action. Hi, I'm Richard,
And I'm Aaron.
and today we're going to be discussing Native Son. The question we picked for today's recording is number 10. Has Bigger changed at all by the end of the book? Is there anything to admire about him? Does the author intend for us to relate to Bigger as a human?
Sorry, I just realized I waited. We're kind of doing a project,
It's okay.
but it's okay because we can cut it.
I'll start it.
The question.
Yeah. Today we're going to be focusing on question number 10. Has Bigger changed at all by the end of the book? Is there anything to admire about him? Does the author intend for us to relate to Bigger as a human, or has he made him an embodiment of social and political forces?
Yeah. Okay. So I think let's start with the first part of the question. Do you think Bigger's changed at all by the end of the book?
All right. When I think about change in a character, I think about how that manifests in their actions. And a lot of what we get from Bigger is a lot of like mental dialogue and how his thoughts change throughout the book. But when we look at his actions in the story, he does not change at all. Like, we start at the beginning, he's like a thug. I'll say a thug, that sounds kind of racist. But he's like prancing around town, jacking it in movie theaters, being a nuisance. And he kills Mary, and he justifies it by basically calling white oppression and how they drove him to this. And after they catch him, he runs off, he tries to escape the police, he even kills Bessie after raping her and sends her body down the chute. Keeps trying to escape the cops, and even when he's caught, he tries to, I don't want to talk too much about his mental state, but he keeps trying to justify it after he's caught, and he doesn't really want to face the reality of his own actions. And at that point, after he's caught, he can't really do anything because he's in custody, so we can't really see any change through his actions at that point. So there, for me, is where his opportunity to change ends, and his fate and his own morality is set in stone, because at that point he can't change.
Yeah, for sure. I think I totally agree with that point of I don't think he develops as a character. I don't think he experiences any kind of character growth. He definitely keeps his ideologies, and he repeats all of his actions over and over and over again. And he just has no character development whatsoever. However, I do think he changes kind of in terms of intensity. He gets more intense throughout the novel, for sure. And I think
his belief in his mindset kind of fluctuates and grows fiery and then
for
low
sure.
with
Yeah,
his actions as well.
I think there's a kind of a couple of different ways that we can look at this. I think one of the biggest things is that he has this very mindset of like instilling fear into people very early on. We see it in literally the first section of the book when he's talking to his sister and he's waving a dead rat in front of her face. And the book literally says in it that.
Yeah, like how he wants to be tough and how he wants to be hard, like reminding me of like the end of the story where he was like explaining to Mr. Max.
Why am I kind of screwing up?
You're bugging.
Okay, wait. Like trying to remember how I wanted to phrase this. Sorry. Okay. So yeah, we totally see it at the very start of the book when he's literally intimidating his sister and he's swinging this rat in front of her face. And this is before anything has happened. He has nobody really to blame for this yet.
Yeah, just him.
And he literally says in the book, it says that he enjoys his sister's fear. And I feel like that kind of is the first time that it's our very introduction to his character, and that kind of instilling fear into people continues to grow throughout the book. I think that in a way, he also changes to accept the fact that he's cruel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, okay, I feel like I should define what I mean by saying cruel. I very much see him as an abuser. I think he's this person who wants to seek control over people, and he just wants to, like, okay. I think what I mean by cruel is that I think he's an abuser. I think he's this person who, intentionally or not, thrives off of being able to manipulate people, thrives off of being able to control people and get power over people. And I think that very much starts in that first scene of, you know, liking that he's scaring his sister. And then it continues to get bigger from that one smaller instance where he's just scaring somebody, and then it gets bigger. Now he's actually threatening somebody in a robbery. And he's threatening harm. And then it gets bigger and bigger. Wait, hold on. Bigger and bigger.
But yeah, and as you were talking about his like course of actions, and when you said the word abuser, it kind of reminded me of like the whole like the message of the book.
Yeah.
And how like abuser and abusee is kind of the cycle of the book, and how he is abused, but and that drove him to all these other things. Not to say that it's justified, just like in actual abuse situations, the abuser is never justified, even if they themselves were once abused. Yeah,
I very much. That's a really big topic that I want to get in for the third part of this question. Okay. Okay. So, you know, first we see him threatening he starts to threaten somebody, and then all of a sudden he's manipulating people's emotions. He's trying to get something physical out of people with, you know, trying to coerce money out of the family of the girl he just murdered. And then he switches to actual actions. Of now he's raping somebody. And he just gets more and more drastic until the point, right up until his very last action of the book, where we see him in this predicament with the police, where he's being chased, and he decides, I'm just going to kill everybody, and I'm going to kill everybody, and then I'm going to kill myself. And you see him, his actions get bigger and bigger and bigger, with no pun intended. And he very much just thrives off of manipulation, and I think he changes to have his actions grow because he realizes this is something that I'm enjoying, and so he has almost kind of like a tolerance to it. He realizes that this isn't satisfying me anymore, and he gets more and more drastic with his acts.
Yeah, I want to like rebut. I also want to move on. Just to say really quick, I see where you're coming from with saying he takes like pleasure from it and he enjoys it. But I see it more as a defense mechanism. And the deeper and the more he's pushed by the consequences of his defense mechanism, the more he's pushed by the consequences of that, the stronger it gets.
Yeah.
Like, the more he wants to be tough, the farther he wants to take it. He just doesn't want to accept anything. He just keeps pushing to be more violent, to be more cruel, like you're saying. And I think that's different from, like, enjoying it. Like, his mind. He tries to change his mindset to where he thinks he enjoys it to accept it more easier that he's being cruel. I think that's
Interesting.
like he tries to like change his own mind a lot.
So what is your interpretation? This is kind of a tangent, but what is your interpretation of like the end of the book where he finally, you know, he tells Max like,
yeah, no.
I'm okay with dying. Like I think I've done it bad. What do you?
At the end, I feel like is like the biggest like conclusion of all that he hasn't changed.
Yeah, for
He
sure.
hasn't changed.
For sure.
Like at all.
Yeah, I agree, but I feel like that scene almost proves to me that he did like what he was doing.
Ooh.
Because, okay, so to me, one of my biggest things is I think that he accepts, like, one of his changes are he's accepting his mentality. Because when he's accused of raping Mary, he immediately says, I didn't do it, I
Yeah.
didn't do it, I didn't do it. And
Really?
he's very defensive for many, many, many pages.
Yeah.
And then he has this conversation with Max, and Max says, well, did you think about doing it? And this is the first time that we've been asked a question like this, and then he admits it. He says, well, yeah, I might have. Like, I might have done it if I had the chance to. And then I feel like that is the moment that we see him, like realize that he's not as forced into things as he wants to see.
Yeah.
And I feel like, of course, he does right after that. He does say that he did it because, you know,
Yeah, they walk
white
in,
people
yeah.
instilled,
Oh, that.
white people instilled that idea into his mind, and so he was like, oh, it came into my head because everybody tells me that's what I should think. But I really feel like, hold on, where's my? This is kind of a train of thought that is weird, and I can't think of it unless I wrote it down.
We can cut it.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So I think that was him like talking to Max, and he's becoming self-aware. Oh wait, hold on. I'm still cutting this. Okay, yeah. And I think that kind of like self-awareness of like, yeah, maybe I was gonna do it is repeated. It's like almost mirrored at the very end of the book where he says, you know, I think I'm deserving of the death. But I feel like he says that he's deserving of it because it's a way of coping with the fact that he's going to die, rather than
Yeah.
thinking that, you know,
Yeah.
gosh,
And
what
actual
was my
reality of
point?
it.
What was your point?
My point originally was not originally, but it's a defense mechanism, and he doesn't actually enjoy it. He's just like convincing
He
himself.
doesn't actually
to
enjoy
it.
the axe. Okay.
Yeah.
I think he does actually enjoy.
Oh
the
yeah,
axe.
yeah, because of what he at the end.
Yeah, and so at the end, he very much, you know, admits that he feels like he's okay with dying, and I feel like he says he's okay with it, not because he actually thinks like what I did was wrong, kind of what I feel like is what you're saying. Of like he doesn't enjoy it, and he's wait.
He doesn't enjoy the actions. He doesn't enjoy being tough. Like he even admits to Max that he's not tough. Like he, I think he wasn't sobbing. I don't think he was like getting very emotional. But then after that, at the end, he like gets all cheery and stuff again, and he's like, I do deserve this. I'm okay now, and I think I don't know, cause I think at that point is where he falls into the same trap again of his own mind, where he's like. Where he starts to enjoy it, but instead of like enjoying it, it's changed to where he's accepted it and that he deserves it, I think, or like that's gonna happen.
Okay.
And he doesn't actually come to the conclusion that that Max wanted him to, or like that we wanted, I guess, which was that there is a systemic issue. I think, yeah.
I agree. I feel like you can kind of look at it in two ways.
You're good. You just cut it.
I feel like we can wait. Hold on. What did you just say?
That he didn't get to the point of that it's like he didn't get to like the truth of it, and he just fell into his own like mind trap of accepting it, how things were.
Accepting it. Okay. I think to me, he did enjoy the axe, and
Genuinely.
like genuinely did enjoy the axe, and was uncomfortable with the fact that he genuinely didn't enjoy them.
Okay.
I think that's what I mean.
Okay.
Yeah, so he genuinely was upset with the fact that he was enjoying them, and I think part of it, like, yeah, he is a product of his environment. Yeah, white people did hurt him and he
Yeah.
was abused, and I feel like that like made things a lot worse for him. But I also think like almost intrinsically he would have this kind of like mentality in one
Like-
way or another.
like-
It might have just not as been as intense.
Yeah, like innate human thoughts. If you're like
Yeah.
being oppressed, then you're going to enjoy it
Exactly.
when you like get back at them.
Yeah, and I feel like my kind of thought was it goes to the very beginning of the book, and I felt like I was really trying to figure out, you know, is this a nurture or nature situation? Is he actually like
Yeah.
this, or was he
Like,
made to be like this? And I feel like just when comparing, you know, his siblings aren't
Yeah.
like him at all, and I feel like it's really hard to he just doesn't.
Well, he's the oldest child, isn't he?
I don't know.
I think he is the oldest now. His brothers, he has a younger brother and a younger sister.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think me personally as the youngest sibling, that's a bit of a stretch. Just a little bit of a stretch.
Yeah.
They're gonna have the same experience.
Okay.
But seeing bigger, I mean,
Yeah.
well, compared to like other African Americans in the story,
Yeah.
I guess this is a bigger thing.
Yeah. I think
A bigger the character thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think he says at some point, like it's right after he killed Mary, that he sees black people walking down the street, and all of a sudden he feels this really intense guilt.
Yeah.
Of that's the first time that he's felt guilt. Of he realizes he's kind of on his own in this.
Yeah.
Of like, yeah, people are oppressed, but they're not going out and murdering other people to fight
Yeah.
oppression. So I think at the very end when he finally says, "I'm okay with dying," I think part of him is accepting. I'm aware of the fact that the way that I live, that the way that makes me enjoy
Yeah.
life, is wrong.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's saying that he wants to die, or like not wants to die, but that he's accepting the fact that he's dying. I think he's still upset. I think he's saying it though because he has no other choice.
Yeah.
He's coping with it.
Yeah. Like he's come to terms with it, but he's like, coping. Coping is
Yeah.
the exact word.
And
Yeah.
I think a really big reason is we don't have any real reason to believe that he's changed to be a better person, to
Yeah.
think that, to like, you know, when I bring up the fact that he was so defensive about raping Mary because he says over and over and over that I didn't do it, and like that's wrong. Like it almost feels like he's saying that's wrong. I would never
Yeah,
do that.
yeah.
And then all of a sudden he goes, well, maybe
wanted
I
to.
would have.
Yeah.
You know, and then it kind of feels like he just has no morality. Why would we assume on the last page and a half that all of a
He,
sudden like
He changes.
he's okay with things?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So I feel like at the very end, you know, he doesn't change at all. Of like yeah, he changes to maybe accept the fact that I think the most change he goes through is to accept
Accepting
the
that he's
fact
gonna die.
that he dies, and I also think that he enjoys
Yeah.
and then the other change being he just gets more drastic as a
Yeah.
character. But
That's a
as
real
far
change.
of like character development, no.
No.
I think like even though he's accepted and he's like self-aware that what he's doing is wrong, that is not
Yeah.
evidence of like, you know,
He's gotten self-aware about a lot.
exactly.
but-
that doesn't make you a better person.
Yeah.
Kind of like what you were saying, it's very much in the actions. And he never changed his actions. So.
That's a good place to go to the next question. Okay. Does the author intend for us to relate to? Wait. Is there anything to admire about him?
This one was a little complicated to me. I feel like he definitely has qualities that can be seen as good. I think he's very cunning and he's very smart.
Well. Okay, you keep going. Keep going.
Really?
Yeah.
I think he has a lot of street smarts, and I think I go back a lot to when he's like thinking about what to do with Mary. I think I'm going back a lot to thinking about what he's doing, about how am I going to fix the Mary situation.
Yeah.
Of his train of thought felt really smart to me. Of like not in a good way,
Okay.
not in a good way,
Like
but I think
objectively the plan.
objectively was
Yeah.
like I was like, that is insane. Like that is like not something I would ever like. But that being said, even though he is really smart, I also think he's very persistent. And these qualities can be seen as good.
Yeah.
It's not admirable. It's not admirable. all of his best qualities, like the fact that he's smart and the fact that he can like think in like really high pressure situations, are only ever used to fuel his worst qualities, which is like, you know, his impulsiveness, his crave for power. Everything he does is just to seem
You're good.
more powerful.
Okay, that's a bit, because I think I completely disagree with you.
Should I restart my sentence?
I think we should restart from.
I think all of his best qualities
Yeah,
are
you started
used.
there.
Yeah. I think all of his best qualities, you know, the fact that he's smart, the fact that, you know, he's very a quick thinker.
Yeah.
They only fuel his worst qualities, like the fact that he's really impulsive, and I think ultimately his crave for power is what it fuels the most. And
Yeah.
And even though these qualities might be like positive, objectively positive, he's not a character that we should be
Nope.
admired. And it's just no, I don't.
Okay. Well, I think I completely disagree with you there.
Really?
Even with, like, by completely, I mean completely, because
Mhm.
even that what you said were objective, objective smarts, objective, like, skills that, like, you could see as positive. I agree with you completely that, like, he did it for, like, sucky reason, and that's not
Mhm.
admirable at all. But when I heard you say that he's smart and cunning, and you referred to Mary's plan, there's two parts to this. One is the plan itself. Two is the execution of the plan.
True.
True. So the planning itself, it's kind of like hysterical. Also, quick.
Yeah.
Okay. Quick thinking first, because that's the first thing he does
Mhm.
after he kills Mary, which is stupid. Killing Mary.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, it was pressure. That's fine. Anyways, after he kills Mary, he chucks her into the furnace. What the? He leaves her dead body
Yeah.
in the house, in her own house.
Yeah.
And then's the plan. She makes a plan with Bessie. It's a freaking. If I just killed someone, I'm not gonna double down and like threaten the family of the
True.
person whose
That was-
daughter I murdered.
That was actually insane.
Yeah, the audacity.
Okay. What about his plan to get away with it?
I mean,
Like,
he had no
like
right to go
the
with it.
way that he did when he originally said that this is what I'm gonna do, and then he went over this plan of how I'm gonna blame Jan.
Yeah, Jan.
Over and over and over.
Yeah.
And I felt like the way that he revised it and the way that he caught almost every mistake was pretty skillful.
Okay, okay, but like also, he tried to blame Jan, and then Jan confronted him about it. Pulled a gun on Jan, which
That was
it's pretty funny, silly.
that was crazy.
But also, what the? I don't know. I'm getting like caught up in the hysteria of his whole plan, like the
Yeah.
legit. I'm still caught up how he put it in the furnace, how he put the corpse in
Yeah.
the furnace, and he just expected them to never find it. I mean, it would have been ingenious if they did never find it.
I was actually amazed of like how did they not smell
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, the smell! Also, I don't know how long it takes for like bones to burn and like decompose that in fire. Especially
Yeah.
like sweltering fire in a furnace. That was kind of silly.
Yeah.
I just want to say.
I definitely
yeah.
think like there are logistics that didn't make sense. Not only that, I also kind of just feel like the whole furnace thing just in the book didn't really make sense.
Yeah.
Like, how did nobody smell it?
Smell it.
Also, the earring never melted. There was a metal
Yeah.
earring in it, and it just
Earring.
was survived.
Yeah.
That was insane.
Okay.
But I feel like in the context, like I feel like at least in the way that he went about, this is how I'm going to avoid getting caught. Post murder.
I don't think so. I disagree.
Interesting.
Because
Okay.
like he just keeps fumbling through,
Yeah.
and even with the plane itself to like blame Jan for it and the communists, like really that seems like childlike. Like
Yeah.
you drew the hammer and sickle on the goddamn thing.
That was.
like, why?
I was really waiting for the book to say like he wrote it wrong, and that's how they
Yeah.
found out it was him.
And then after that, Yeah, I just think the whole way to Bessie, the plan to like the audacity to get more money
Yeah.
from them, I think was just kind of stupid. That's stupid. That's stupid as hell.
I feel
That's
like-
heck.
I feel like to me that is an instance of like where his smartness got the best of him and like fueled his crave for power of like he
I guess,
is
take-
smart
to
but
take
then
more
he
from
just
the
like
people.
yeah he is smart and he had to genuinely like it was a risky plan.
No, see, I think it's more his crave for power overcoming.
Report to the main office. If you are individuals, please report to the main office.
I think it's actually more his like lust for power coming over his smarts, because no smart person would do that. Like
Yeah.
want money, like
You see it.
yeah, like want money that bad that like jeopardize their whole life. And even after that, he kills Bessie.
Yeah.
No, that moment he kills Bessie was out of
It was
nowhere.
insane.
If he-
It was
okay.
actually insane.
If he can somehow justify killing Mary, he should not get away with killing Bessie. Because man's literally sexually assaulted her to clear his mind. Yeah,
Not admirable.
not admirable. And then he dumped her down the chute, and like that was like how many? That was like 2-3 pages long.
Yeah.
There was no thought process whatsoever,
Yeah.
no remorse given to killing
Okay.
Bessie. He just murdered her, like out of nowhere.
Yeah, I agree.
Another dead body, killed another human being,
Yeah,
bro.
he's very
Stupid, impulsive,
Yeah.
like, and that's
Yeah.
not
I can see it. Okay.
that's not admirable.
I feel like he has. Okay. I feel like I'm changing my opinion. Of he has instances.
Sorry.
I think he has instances that are. I think he has times. Okay, no. I think he has.
This is something.
Okay. I think he has wit,
Okay.
but I don't think that he uses it. I feel like he is somebody who isn't dumb,
Mhm.
but he just has all of these other much
Like the
bigger, like
Yeah.
he has all of these way worse personality traits
Yeah.
that just take over any good qualities
Yeah.
that he's had. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's
I think that
that's
sounds
where I
right.
land.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that.
Not admirable.
Not admirable whatsoever.
Okay, and that brings us to the last part of this. Does the author intend for us to relate to Bigger as human, or has he made him an embodiment of social and political forces?
Oh, okay. So for this, there's like kind of two facets. I think the author wanted us to relate to Bigger as a human, like in the first half of the book, like get us connected to him, flesh out his character and his struggles, so that he could turn him into an embodiment of like a political force. So when Max has his whole monologue, which is basically propaganda, we can connect it to Bigger and the experiences we've seen him and like heard him think about. We've seen him do, we've seen him like experience, and we've seen his thoughts. Like Richard Wright, like the whole point of Bigger, I think, the whole point of this book, the whole point of Bigger's character is so that we can be connected and invested into the narrative that, which the narrative isn't wrong. I'm not saying he's lying, but yeah, he creates Bigger's character in order to bolster his basically propaganda that he put at the end of the book with Max's argument in the court. So that's where I see it. That's how I see it.
Interesting. I think I disagree.
Really?
Maybe not entirely, but I don't think that Bigger is this person that you're supposed to relate to. But I feel like
Me personally, haven't been too heavy. Yeah.
exactly, exactly. I don't think he's this person to relate to, and I really feel like he's more there to question and almost be disgusted with.
Yeah.
However, I do think there are times that you're meant to also want to defend him. He's very objectively oppressed, and I feel like he was made to be this person that you want to like stay away from, but at the same time you have these moments of, well, that's also not okay, and I want to defend you because I know that racism isn't okay. But then it's just very confusing, and you feel kind of lost as a reader of there's nobody in this story that I want to support.
Except for Max.
Except for maybe Max.
Maybe Max.
But why does the author do that? So why does the author do that? I feel like it's less about the author wanting you to relate to Bigger, and more, on the idea of he's the embodiment of a social power, and I think he's very much made to be an abuser. He's this person who thrives off of hurting people, and he's constantly controlling and constantly seeks power out of people. And I feel like he's made to be an abuser, and the author wants to put you in the mind of an abuser, of one having this genuine I think as a reader we genuinely understand that his actions are wrong and are to be disgusted with, but we see Bigger say that he defends them almost. It's everybody else's fault.
Yeah.
It's because of the society that you put me in. And I feel like it's supposed to kind of tear us apart. We understand that, yeah, he is oppressed, but it doesn't make what you've done okay. And I think Bigger genuinely thinks, I think part of Bigger genuinely thinks that what he did was okay. And was justified, at the very least justified.
Yeah, as well.
And I feel like the author writes to have us understand that an abuser might think that what they're doing is justified, and might not understand that they are an abuser and that they hurt people. But I think more importantly, the novel is trying to say that just because an abuse, I think more importantly, the novel is trying to say that abusive people are not immune to abuse. And I think it's trying to say that, abusive people can also get hurt. And I think it's trying to say, within that immunity, just because an abuser is not immune to getting hurt, it doesn't justify
Excuse their
anything
abuse.
else that they've
I
done.
see.
Exactly. So I think overall, the novel is trying to say that when you're in an abusive or harmful situation, it's really easy to keep yourself in those situations. If you want to defend this person.
Hi guys.
You're okay. Hi.
Hey,
No, it's okay. We're just recording.
Yeah.
Oh.
You're fine. I think the novel is trying to say that it's really easy to have your opinion swayed. It's really easy to find yourself in an abusive situation or know somebody that is an abuser, and then hear the things that are happening to that abuser, and hearing how they've been harmed, or hearing about their past, and almost wanting to excuse it. Well, I understand where they're coming from. It doesn't make they're still hurting me. They're still hurting this other person. But this happened, so I understand it. Can we really blame them? And I think the author's trying to say, yeah, we can.
Yeah.
Just because they've been hurt doesn't make the fact that hurting people is okay. Just because you learned a behavior doesn't make that behavior okay.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the overall novel's trying to say. It's putting us in this idea of, just the social power of abuse and trauma.
And as you were talking, especially at the beginning, abuse again. Oh my god, the connections are not coming out of the mouth. I think it got me into my own point a little more, and I do agree with what you're saying, but on a much grander scale, this story isn't about Bigger. What I think it can be interpreted both ways. It's about Bigger and the social political forces, but I think this book is not about Bigger. Even though it's about his story and his role, there's two abusers in this book. It's Bigger, which is very clear to see the individual and the abusing system. There is the individual and there is the system. And I think in the case of bigger story within this book, we can definitely, for sure, no questions asked, blame the individual. Blame Bigger, punish him for murder. But it also circles back to his abuser, the system.
Yeah.
And that although we can punish Bigger, the system itself must also be, I don't want to say punished, you can't punish the system, but like you have to give the same reprimand to the system itself.
Interesting.
Because, especially at the second half of the book, it talks about Max
Yeah.
basically puts society on trial
That's
for Bigger's crimes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Like that is such no. I completely agree.
Like as you're talking like abuse and Bigger story,
Mhm.
and I just thought like
Yeah.
take Bigger out of it and see who was like abusing him and what the book was like trying to say at the end through Max's argument.
Yeah, that is a really good point. I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
I still also agree with my point. I feel
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I feel like it's both.
It's both. It's the
Yeah,
same thing.
for sure.
It's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
different
yeah.
words.
Yeah. Abuse isn't okay whether you're a society or an individual.
Yeah. And even though we can punish the individual, we should also like punish the society. Punish isn't the word, but like society needs to be reprimanded for the creation of the individual.
Yeah. Man. Well, I think that's pretty good. I
Yeah.
think that sums it up. I really enjoyed that.
Wait, so does the author intend for us to relate to Bigger as a human, or has he made him an embodiment? So Bigger himself? No, I think with the point we came to, I think we see him as an individual, as a human, I think. Right? Because Bigger himself isn't an embodiment. Because I think they're two separate things.
Well, what do you mean by individual?
Like, they gave him his own story, his own background, and like, he's gonna die.
I think he is a character that's written as an individual, but I think that he represents a lot of larger themes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can see that.
I think he represents like really big themes and broad ideas, and kind of, you know, the author is using Bigger to make a statement on society as a whole.
Yeah. Where's that place though?
Does the author intend for us to relate to Bigger as human, or has he made him an embodiment of social and political power? Intend for us to relate to Bigger as human. As a human, I feel like I never read that quote. I feel like I'm stuck on the word relate.
Yeah. I think when I read the word relate, I see it as like, how do we see him like as, not like how do we like for ourselves, like his experiences.
Okay, so then I think that it falls down to how we answer this question of
What is Bigger?
what is. I think answering this question, we break it into parts of what is Bigger, and then also what does relate mean.
Yeah.
I feel like literally to relate of I
Like I can have
I
empathy
can
for
see
his
myself
experience.
as Bigger.
Yeah.
I can see
Yeah.
myself as Bigger. I don't think is what we're intended to do. I think we're supposed
Yeah.
to see him more as an embodiment of social, like, themes of like this is kind of how society runs, and like making a critique of society. But I think,
Or as a person who is like affected by them.
yeah, and I
makes their own
yeah.
choices.
Possibly relate to, like I think the furthest relating can be, like as a reader, is seeing it within the real world. But I
Yeah,
feel like
especially the cycle
yeah,
of abuse.
but I feel like as a character, we are not meant to relate to Bigger unless you're an abuser, unless you murder people.
Not fun.
Yeah, not funny.
Not funny. Murder.
Murder is wrong, but I do think that he's written as an individual meant to be used to critique larger
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
really like that.
Cool. I think that ends this then.
That ends this little discussion.
And I also think this was like an hour long.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. I think it is.
But yeah, so how do we want to end this?
Thank you so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed our little conversation.
Yeah, maybe you learned something,
Yeah.
or we're open to new perspectives.
Yes.
Cool. Thank you.
Like, share, subscribe. Bye.
Yay! Dude, we ate that.
For real though.
How long is it?
This is 40 minutes long.
Okay.